Hi, MC Bling Daddy here with the second video in the Minecraft Server Startup Double Feature Series. Here we see how to set up to run a world in its proper server with just a mouse drag and drop operation. You may want to review the previous video in the series on how to find needed server jar files directly on Mojang. See other videos in this site as well for the use of Java, the server properties file, how to set the path to your world in your client, or for other questions on client or server setup. Now, if you want to start a server for your world, you first need to find out what Minecraft version the world uses. Assuming your client is set to point to the saves folder that the world is in, you simply enter single player mode and view the saved worlds list. Our client here uses version 1.12.2, as you can see in the upper left corner, but that's not necessary to view the list. But the new world that we'll be using does also use that version. Normally, before you start the server, you would have to specify which world to use in the server.properties file. And you may have to specify the path to the world folder as well if the world isn't in the server folder. Finally, you have to start the server using a Windows command to execute Java using the server jar file. There is a simple solution to all this, however. A Windows batch file, .bat, can start up Java using the needed server jar that will open a specific world, and it can be executed with a simple drag and drop action. Let's take a look to see how the batch file works when you drag a world onto it. First, by looking at how the world folder is referenced. In a Windows batch file, the items you drag onto it are the parameters on which it operates. The parameters are referenced using a % and a digit. Since there's only one item, the world folder that you drag onto the batch file is the only parameter you have, designated %1, and its value is the entire path of the folder, starting with the drive letter. A typical storage area for worlds is in the user's appdata.minecraft saves folder, as you see in the window title bar. You would substitute your own identity for the MC, of course. In the batch file, if you try to include the drive letter and full path of the world, you'll get an error from the server. So you need to include the batch file in the same folder that the world is in, so that you can just refer to the world's name. That folder is considered the execution's startup folder, and then you only need to refer to the world by name without the folder path. But if you're going to specify the Minecraft version, we need to put that in the name somehow. That change can be made by putting the version number in what's called the file or folder extension. It's what comes after the dot. In a batch file, the name and extension of a file or folder can be separated out and used independently in a Windows command. The name is what comes after the final slash in the path, just before the world's name. And the extension is what comes at the dot after the name. Since we will use the extension to refer to the server, we need to change the world name to add an extension to reference the server version. The revised name is new_world and .1_12_2 is the extension. Note that you can't put dots between the numbers, or else your extension would only be the last number. And all spaces must be taken out of the name, since the server only uses a name up to a space. Also, the server uses everything after the final slash in the path to refer to a world, so we need to use both name and extension for the server to find the world. You can refer to the name and extension in the batch file by inserting characters between the % and the parameters digit, using $n for name and $x for extension. So %(n1) is the name of the world, new world, and %(x1) is the extension, .112.2. The extension includes the dot. The world is referenced in the command line with its full name and extension so the server can accurately reference it. It is specified with a --world flag so the server knows it's the world it's supposed to open, rather than the one in the server.properties file. You may be able to specify the path to the world folder with a --universe flag, but I haven't tried it. See the Minecraft Fandom Wiki tutorial on setting up a server for more information. Next, let's take a look at the jar requirements in the command. As noted before, the server should be the same Minecraft version as the world. The full path to the jar is included in the command line. Reference to a jar using a reference to a shortcut gives an error. Java apparently can't handle it. Note that the Minecraft version parameter is included in the command in the server jar file name. You might want to keep all your server jars in a single folder. You can then use the same folder path for them all. But they will also have to have a reference to Minecraft version that the world folders have. Note that there are no spaces in the path, and you only have to have jars stored that you'll actually be using, of course. Finally, let's take a look at the Java reference that is the actual executable in the batch file command. You'll notice that the reference is to a .lnk link file. I use that so I can easily change the Java location if needed, without having to modify the batch file. This is a Windows shortcut. The link file contains the path to the Java executable that will run the jar. Make sure that the Start In field is blank. Otherwise, that is where the final world and associated server files may be stored when the server closes, and the world may not be the one you intended to start. For Minecraft 1.18 versions, special versions of Java are needed, but they work with previous versions too. The path to the Java exe can be seen and set with a right-click on the link file and selecting Properties. You'll find the needed Java exe buried in the launcher folder inside Minecraft, and I keep Minecraft and launcher in the program files x86 folder. You may find yours in the user's app data location. Drill down through the launcher runtime beta folders down into the binary folder. Make a shortcut to java.exe in the folder where your batch file is kept. So let's take a look at what happens when you drag and drop a world onto the batch file. If your server doesn't start the first time around, it may be because you need to set up the eula.txt file in the startup folder. The new world extension indicates the jar/server 112.2 should be used, so that Java uses that jar, and the jar/server opens the world. We can use the Minecraft client to connect with the server and live in the world that's been opened. And, of course, if others know the server IP address, they can log in too. So all you have to do is label your worlds properly and set up the batch, jar, and link files as shown, and you're ready to drag and drop your worlds onto the batch file to start them up in a server designed just for them. And, in fact, by copying the same batch and link files, you can set up to start a world and its server from just about any folder you have worlds in, without having to change anything except adding an extension to each world you want to run in this way. One thing we haven't covered, though, is that all worlds have to use the same server.properties file found in the startup folder. But given how we've seen to handle the world, you may be able to figure out how to handle properties files similarly with a copy command. Well, that's about it. Happy mining and crafting with your friends online, and thanks for watching.